Tonight on The Roast, Adam Bandt is accused of politicising the bushfires and asylum seekers are back in the news. But first, Mark Humphries fought the law, though sadly the law won and sentenced him to 3 minutes of this.
The Sydney Opera House celebrated its 40th birthday this weekend, so any day now we can expect it to buy a motorbike and tell us that life begins at 40. The iconic building was of course designed in the 50s by Danish architect Jorn Utzon, who wowed judges of the architecture competition with his portrayal of triangular shapes mounting each other in an orgy of expressionist design. For its 40th, the building received a giant cupcake, which annoyed me because I was specifically told not to bring presents. Jimmy Barnes was on hand to shout happy birthday at the building, much like Marilyn Monroe saying happy birthday to John F. Kennedy. Though, unlike Marilyn, Barnesy didn't have sex with the birthday boy, says him. A violin that was being played as the Titanic sank has sold at auction in London for $1.45 million. So at least there was one winner out of that tragedy. The violin had belonged to band leader Wallace Hartley, who, like his 7 fellow band members, died after choosing to play on as the ship went down. Adding to the sadness, all 4 members of Nickelback are still alive. The damaged violin is supposedly unplayable, but they said the Titanic was unsinkable, so I say give it a go. Queensland's police minister says he's considering pink prison uniforms for jailed members of criminal gangs. Bad news for Queensland's gang member inmates, with the exception of notoriously flamboyant prisoner Ferdinand St Clair. Gunmen dressed as clowns have murdered the ex-leader of a Mexican drug cartel at a children's party. Worse yet, many guests left without taking a lolly bag. And spare a thought for that other Mexican drug cartel, which hired gunmen only to receive clowns. I can tell you there's nothing more horrifying than assassination by balloon poodle. But all in all, the murder of this former drug lord is officially the worst thing to happen to the clown industry since clowns. Prime Minister Tony Abbott's sister Christine is set to wed her partner Virginia. The pair told their story to New Idea magazine, leaving me to worry that there may not be any room in this month's issue for the latest goss on Beck Hewitt. The announcement of his sister's wedding means Abbott has his strongest motivation yet to allow same-sex marriage in Australia, having to attend a destination wedding. Good luck claiming that on expenses. For The Roast, I'm Mark Humphries.
Thanks, Mark. Next up tonight, Deputy Greens leader Adam Bandt has been criticised for a tweet that linked the New South Wales bushfire crisis to the Coalition's environmental policy, saying,
"Why Tony Abbott's plan means more bushfires for Australia and more pics like this of Sydney."
But what's a little criticism compared to 334 retweets? His tweet also linked to an Instagrammed photo of the Sydney sky, but unlike many, at least Bandt wasn't linking to it to say how pretty the sky looked. Seriously, we get it, guys. We've all seen it. It's the sky. Now, there is definitely an argument to be made that this was not the most appropriate time for an argument to be made, because the last thing you need in a crisis is someone saying, "I told you so." But the wider issue was raised by Environment Minister Greg Hunt, who claimed there has been a terrible tragedy in New South Wales and no one anywhere should seek to politicise any human tragedy, let alone a bushfire of this scale. But is it really politicising a tragedy when all you're saying is the same thing you were saying long before the tragedy ever occurred? That's not so much politicising an environmental tragedy as the tragedy backing up your environmental politics. To really politicise an issue is to link it to a political agenda that has nothing to do with the issue.
These recent shootings are a tragedy which must be stopped. And one way we can help to stop them is by building a 3rd Sydney casino at the Botanic Gardens. Let's finally use that space. So in conclusion, guns are bad, let's play some craps. Vote 1, Dave.
Now, following the outcry, Greens leader Christine Milne rushed to Bandt's defence, claiming those saying it's not time to talk global warming and bushfires are imposing climate censorship to avoid action. Right time never comes. Because when it comes to discussing politically sensitive issues, there's no universally accepted right time. We know to wait 20 minutes before swimming after eating and to wait 3 days before texting after a date. But when it comes to tragedy, appropriateness of the comment equals event plus time, where time is relative.
Another person dead. Minister, we need to talk about the sudden increase in gun violence.
For God's sake, Clark, a man has just died. Can we talk about this later?
Yeah. After lunch? I'll call you tomorrow. Minister, it's been 6 months. Can we talk about guns now?
For God's sake, Clark, no one's died in 6 months. We'll talk later.
You're not going to remember this, but we had a very similar conversation 6 months ago.
You're right, I don't remember it.
I guess in the end, it's just better to discuss issues when people care about them. I mean, no one wants to read the book, We Need to Talk About Kevin, but not right now, we'll talk about him later. And finally tonight, Prime Minister Tony Abbott has claimed that illegal boat arrivals have decreased 90% since the Coalition won the election. Abbott told the media,
I can say to you with great confidence, my friends, they are stopping. They are stopping and they will be stopped.
Congratulations, Captain Different Tense. Here's your Stop the Boats trophy and a thesaurus. At the same time, Shadow Immigration Minister Tony Burke said,
The Coalition haven't changed our policy. They've changed the media strategy around it, but there is not one part of the policy that we put in place that they've shifted.
I'm sorry, Mr. Abbott, you can keep the thesaurus, but you don't get the trophy. It's going back to Labor. Well, unless Immigration Minister Scott Morrison wants to break his self-imposed media blackout again and take credit.
Labor is in no position to claim credit for anything on our borders except the unprecedented cost, chaos and failure they presided over in their 6 years in office.
Okay, you know what? Fine. No one gets the trophy. You happy now? Although, Labor, you do apparently win the unprecedented cost, chaos and failure trophy, although there's no trophy for that. But the one thing the Coalition can definitely take credit for is keeping the asylum seeker issue out of the news thanks to their media blackout.
Labor immigration spokesman Richard Marles has suggested it's Labor that's behind the recent drop in boat arrivals, not the Coalition.
Labour? But we did it, it was us. Oh, I have to tell everyone. Oh, but I can't. Oh, but I have to. Oh, but I represent a media blackout. Oh, curse this paradox.
So both parties are fighting to take credit for the decline in boat arrivals, or in other words, fighting to politicise an issue that at its very core deals with human tragedy. You hear that, Adam Bandt? You only get to politicise when you're taking credit, not assigning blame. Jez Twemlow, what is the perspective of the Coalition on politicising an issue like this?
No one anywhere should seek to politicise any human tragedy. That's a pretty firm self-imposed rule by Greg Hunt, and one you would think the Coalition has broken, having consistently politicised the human tragedy of asylum seeker drownings to get elected. You would think, but you'd be wrong. Because Scott Morrison, the Coalition's immigration minister, weaver of the media blackout curtain and chief Orwellian doublespeaker, has told everyone that works for him that asylum seekers should now be referred to publicly as illegal arrivals and detainees. Though if you still want to refer to them as people, you can do that in private where the media isn't listening. So it's actually not hypocritical for the Coalition to take credit for stopping the boats, because they aren't politicising human tragedy, as humans haven't been dying on the water. It's been illegals and detainees. Every time a boat sank, a concept drowned, not a human. And that's okay, as the Coalition was elected to stop the boats, not to stop the boat people. As if the boats that arrive are sentient pieces of wood that floated their way down from Indonesia with desperate illegals miraculously attached illegally, who, and I cannot stress this enough, are definitely not human. Back to you, Tom. That's depressing.
Well, there you go, another story about asylum seekers. In fact, media blackout curtain, are we likely to hear any more of these anytime soon?
We don't politicise human tragedy.
Okay, but what if the Coalition manages to stop the boats completely?
Oh, then we'll tell everyone.
Oh, right, good to know. Good night.